Hi Lenormand readers, welcome back to the channel. Thank you as always for tuning back in. Let's do a new pick a card reading today. I am thinking about a certain venture or a project that you're after, and I am wondering if it will prove to be successful and also what will it bring you. So I'm going to do 3 different readings. I'm going to do all 3 3x5 rows. It is always a good spread with quite a bit of detail and a lot of focus as well. So I have 3 piles for 3 different decks for the 3 different readings. This is the Silhouettes deck, this is Titania's Fortune cards, and this is the Maybe Lenormand. It's a smaller deck, but it's really pretty. I hope you'll enjoy it. So as always, you will find the timestamps in the description box. And of course, if you need to pause the video to think about which pile you're going to go for, then by all means pause the video and I will see you in your reading. Okay, let's start with the Silhouettes deck. This is my own deck. And let's deal out your 3x5 extended portrait. As always, my deck is shuffled between readings just a bit more to sort of just, tune into the question of what this venture will prove to do for you, what you get out of it. Okay, for the Silhouettes deck, there are an abundance of positive and beautiful cards in your 3x5. I'm definitely focused on the clover and star happening here together. And so this tells me that you are going to achieve your goals and fulfill your wishes through this venture, especially when the challenging cards are not close to these cards, so they don't really compromise this, although they could be at a knight's distance. But we also have the key to support the star in the face of the whip. These are going to be a tricky combination here, but I definitely see the possibility of achieving your goals. We have the clover and star, 2 of the strongest wish fulfillment cards of the deck. We also have the key next to the tree, by the way, which also points to achieving a very important goal. And we have the beautiful flowers. So you see there's an abundance of positive cards that support a major achievement for you. We have the ship right in the middle of your 3x5. The ship is a card of travel and movement, of changes, and it is also about exploring options. It's about venturing out and being adventurous, really going beyond your current limitation or what you currently know, almost like taking a leap to see what is out there. So a very beautiful card to encourage growth and openness to the world, to see what you can learn from this new experience, from this broader kind of exposure that you are going to go through in this phase. We also have the corner cards that are pretty telling. We have the house and the child. Now that can be a new home. This might cause you to make a move. It might be this radical for some of you. And with the ship, it can mean to a different place. It might mean over water, meaning classically like in a different country, and these sorts of possibilities. Now, if you're not seeing a move at all, this can bring in a new chapter in your home life. It can also establish strong foundations for yourself and also build on them, because the ship is adventurous. It's not staying put like the house. It's a card that flows. And when we see these together, it's clearly an indication that you are building on what you've established so far, and you're growing beyond what you've established so far. This is great for new adventures, new beginnings, and new chapters, if not an outright house move. Now, the other pair of corner cards is a combination of gossip. This is interesting. The bird is a vocal card and the whip is generally a challenging card. But in my dictionary, these 2 cards have a specific meaning, mainly gossip. So you could hear something, you could come across some interesting information, and in the context of the ship here being in the central position of your 3x5, it can be in regards to this adventure that you're after, to the place you visit, to the options you're considering, or perhaps people that you come across as you broaden your horizons and expand into new possibilities. So the bird and whip is clearly some news, some information, possibly gossip that comes your way. And you know, it's interesting that we see it at the corner cards. It probably means that it's more or less important and is going to have an influence on what goes on in the rest of the extended portrait that we'll get to. It's possible that the bird and whip also points to an argument. So perhaps in relation to what we see at the top here, there is a confrontation of sorts, or something comes out. And I say that because the snake is typically silent and we have the whip after it. So it might be time to bring something out into the open. And actually, this works really well with the ship, because the ship is like, it's a movement card that leaves things behind and it just goes off and ventures out. So it's like you lift this off your back and you're able to have more freedom now to pursue what you want to pursue. So definitely a time to go beyond limitations, to bring up an issue so that it can be cleared, so that you have the freedom to pursue these ambitions, these adventures, and possibly even travels and moves. So with this said, let's get into the rows and columns and see what else you achieve through this venture. So the house, book, and key. Now, this is another confirmation that a move is possible, because the house and book is a house not known, and the key and house can point to purchasing property or possibly renting. The idea is that you open a door, right? You open a home. So because of the book, it might be a place that you don't know yet, and the child confirms this idea of a place that is new. So these three cards also add to the possibility of a new home, a new place, and possibly a new base if you're not moving altogether. Now, the snake and whip is clearly a challenging combination. The snake is a bit toxic, and with the whip, it can be a bit of a bite. So like we said, with the bird, there is an issue, a confrontation, and it's also a good idea to unlock the silence. So the book is a silent card, the snake is a silent card, we have the key between them, and we also have the whip on the other side of the snake. So this tells us that what was bottled up or not talked about needs to come out into the open, and the silence needs to be broken. And with the key in the middle here, it's clear that this is the right thing to do. And like we suggested through the corner cards in conjunction with the central card, it helps clear the air and helps you move on. Now, because of the house earlier in the line, it could be something, an issue at the home front, with your home, within your home, with family members, possibly the job, or maybe closer groups. So the house is really about your more intimate environment, whether it's at home, at work, or in another situation. So there's been maybe some toxic energy that's been accumulating in this space, and now it needs to be released. Okay, so this is a first key achievement through the venture ahead. And honestly, I think that's a good thing, because this will clear the air to help you move forward next. And in the second row, we have a beautiful set of cards. So really the challenging cards are just these two. The bird is sometimes challenging, but not always. And the rest of the cards are very positive, like we see in the middle row. So the flowers, dog, ship, tree, and moon. This really suggests growth and evolution. But the flowers and dog can mean meeting new friends or having fun with friends, maybe family, siblings, colleagues. Anyone in your peer group really is represented by the dog. And with the ship, tree, and moon, there's a positive evolution in your relationships. So another takeaway from the venture ahead, apart from the fact that you achieve your goal, is that people are supportive, or you deepen some connections, mainly friendships, with certain people. And it's very possible as well that you share certain goals so that you pursue them together. So you see the dog and ship and tree and moon. It's like the setting sail is happening with this group of people or with this person. And the flowers is really a lovely card. I mean, the flowers is a card of joy and optimism. It is happy, it is playful and fun. So there's a lot of good times here happening with friends and peers and colleagues. And the tree and moon is also a slower kind of energy where it just feels really easy. So I have to say that this could be a vacation of sorts. Maybe you're going somewhere to meet some people, to celebrate some things, experience certain, maybe go to certain events and things like that. It can involve travel, but it can also involve some kind of adventure or going to, people, places, cultures, all of that variety that is so engaging seems to be at play here in your second row. Now, this can also apply in another context of your life, depending on what this venture is that you're focusing on. If it's a work project, I think you can look forward to customers. You can look forward to supportive colleagues, supportive partners. There is a strong sense of collaboration here. The thing about the tree and moon is that they're steady and slow. So even if, there's lots that seems to come in here, in time, you build that connection with these people and they help your business grow. And it helps you achieve your goals. So also very supportive in other contexts like work. Now the bottom row is also a lovely set of cards because of the clover and star, and the child points to this new beginning. The bird and woman point to a conversation, and I think that these two pairs can match together. See, in the middle we have the central cross, so we could, parse the cards in different ways, and I find that the cards really help me do that instead of me, coming at it. So this conversation, and the bird can be a bit of an anxious causing card, might reflect some of the energies with the snake and whip. So it's possible that this is the person with whom this conversation needs to be had. And we could also tie these in the diagonals. But the clover star is a beautiful pair because it points to healing and the child points to a new beginning. So I really think that this is an opportunity to clear the air and turn the page into a new chapter. And really, this is very releasing and relieving. And again, it helps you move forward. So a very key takeaway from this venture is to clear the air with someone and move on from there. So these are really bright cards. And we see that you do this successfully. So I'm not seeing that there's things like bitterness or resentment that keeps hanging. We'll see this column when we get to it. But backing up to the first column. So the house, flowers, and bird is all about festivities, parties, get-togethers. And in this context, the bird is a bit noisy, so it's probably quite a few people getting together. It sounds like a lot of fun. So definitely a social time for this phase. The book, dog, and woman can represent someone you meet, someone new, and we saw the dog in the central row. So these could T-cross each other and tell us that this relationship proves supportive. I would suggest that you take your time getting to know this person and also sort of go with the flow. There's no need to try to make things happen or to get uptight about anything. Just letting this relationship flow because it seems to be supportive. And it can be that this woman is different. The woman in this column is different than the woman there is possibly a confrontation with. But it's also possible in some of your scenarios, or for some of you, that there is an issue that pops up with this woman. But again, because of the bottom row, it is supportive in terms of healing and the issue can be resolved. So these are some really bright cards. Now, the key, ship, and clover. Again, I see that you achieve your goal. You arrive at your destination. You also unlock your potential. And it is very much an encouragement to pursue these ventures. So I like to see this triplet because it confirms that you're on the right track. It confirms that you are right to undertake this venture. And on top of that, that you will achieve your goals, arrive at your destination, unlock the potential that you're after, get the answers that you're for the questions that you're asking. Any of the quests that you're on are going to result in the outcomes that you want. So very, very bright card. And this across all areas. So it's great with business. It's great with personal growth. It's great in relationships. It really is an achievement triplet. Now the snake, tree, and star is also a nice set of cards. I know that the snake can be tricky, but seeing it with the tree points to wisdom and knowledge. Of course, this shouldn't surprise you by association with the archetypal Garden of Eden. And on top of that, we have the star. So I feel there is something quite spiritual going on here. And we do have the key and clover, by the way, and the moon and flowers. They're kind of feminine and intuitive. So it's possible that you deepen your connection with yourself, that you grow in wisdom and knowledge, and you have like a deeper awareness of a number of things going on in your life. But I also feel your sense of power, your sense of inner knowing. And I feel this comes through clearly here. The tree is a powerful card, and it's surrounded by some pretty beautiful cards like the clover, star, and the key. And the snake has that mysterious element that comes with it, and the moon is intuitive, and so there's quite a bit of spiritual energies that I think are at play here for you, and personal growth and a deeper sense of awareness and sense of self is also playing out. And in the last column, we have the whip, moon, and child. So the moon really softens the whip. And it's actually really nice to see the whip knighting to the star, knighting to the ship. I feel that this can point to healing, and also it aligns with everything else we saw in these rows and columns. So I do think that a key outcome from your adventure is to turn the page, to achieve healing, and to turn the page into a new beginning. So all in all, I think these are some very bright cards for you. I really would say mission accomplished, first, and second, growth, depth, adventure, relationships, and also resolutions. So a lot can come out of this venture of yours, and I really think that you don't want to hold back. You want to move forward with it and really enjoy this expansive energy that we're seeing in your cards. I also think it's important to be open, not to force anything, to let things and people and things flow like that, and to allow places to help you experience them. Just really being open to a wide range of experiences, because this is a growth phase. You are going beyond the current limitations that we see through the house or the boundaries within which you're currently operating, and new stuff, new doors, new opportunities are ahead for you. So a beautiful clearing, an overall sense of clearing is happening for you, and that's what you will take away from this venture, in addition to achieving the goals you have for it. We can look at a few diagonals before we wrap up. We have the dog between the house and clover. That is great for family, friends. And then we have the tree and whip. So again, this is the challenge card, but the clover and tree is very powerful to help you stand your ground in the face of this argument, confrontation, or this thing that finally bubbles up to the surface. So use calm and centeredness. As you know, with this ship here, I'm thinking, the song "Row Your Boat Gently Down the Stream." I feel that any issues around you are just there around you, and you have a peaceful sense of direction and confidence in your path. So don't feel like you need to rock your path or catch a ball, or don't be reactive. Just move forward peacefully. And the bird, dog, key, tree, and child is a beautiful combination for achieving a very important goal that leads to a wonderful new beginning, and probably comes through the help or input of a friend here. The bird and key bring solutions. And the key and tree, like I've said earlier, is about achieving a very important goal. So these are wonderful cards. We have the flowers, woman, into the ship, snake, and moon. This is quite an interesting combination here, with a bit of a magical element, a spiritual element, very intuitive, I would say. And the flowers and woman here can point to a relationship that helps you move forward in these directions. I think because of the snake and moon, there's some things that you need to be really calm and quiet about. and also not pushy, like we've said several times. Even though there's the whip in one of your corners, your attitude towards this is one of calm and an unreactive approach overall. And then the flowers, book, ship, star, and moon. These are beautiful cards of wishes, wish fulfillment, star and moon and flowers. And it seems to be in this new direction that you're heading into. So the book is the unknown and the ship is about setting sail. So you're in for some wonderful periods of achievements, some deep goal achievement, and also I think some deep realizations. So this can be a leveling up for you out of this venture. It seems like it's definitely worth your time. Again, the cards encourage you to go for it because you will achieve your goal. There is a bit of a conflict that comes up, but it's part of the process of relieving and releasing so that you can move forward freely. And finally, the dog, key tree, and clover is just like we saw in the two diagonals. They're part of the two portraits that are connected through these diagonals. And again, we're seeing a very important achievement, and probably some people help you with this, or like we said, if it's about customers and people in your business, for example, you have more of them, you make better connections, you make more connections, and it helps you achieve your goals. Clover is lovely in here, and flowers, key, moon, and clover is just an all-around success combination. So definitely goals being achieved across the board in this venture. You're very much encouraged to pursue it and keep going, keep moving forward, be open to what's to come. Take these conflicts or confrontations in stride and keep moving forward and have faith in your journey because it is unfolding very, very beautifully. So let me know how you like these ideas. Silhouettes group, leave me your thoughts and comments. Maybe you can share what this venture is about. It'd be really interesting to know for myself and others who are following as well. So thank you so much for tuning in as always. And until we meet again, take very good care of yourself. Okay, this is pile 2, Titania's fortune cards, and we're going to do a 3x5. I'm doing a 3x5 for each of the readings. As you know, my deck is always shuffled between readings, just shuffling a little bit to set the intention, and we're good to deal out your 3x5. And we are looking at what will come out of this venture for you, if it will be successful. Okay, look at these cards. These are some pretty amazing cards. Obviously, it should stand out. The star is right in the middle of it all. So even if there were challenging cards and there's only these two, maybe this one, it is really a reassuring message that you will achieve what you set out to achieve through this venture. It is also a card of inspiration and big aspirations, and so I really feel that you are able to reach for bigger goals and you can achieve them through this venture. We also have the clover, we have the tree, the anchor, moon, fish, and ship. These are all very supportive cards that tell us that you are going to achieve what you set out to achieve and probably more. The relationship aspect comes through pretty strongly in these cards. Notice the heart that is knighted to the man and knighted to the ring. So a relationship is very much in the cards for you, but at the same time, I'm seeing the coffin with the fox on top of the man, and I'm seeing the clouds with the ring. And so it is possible that a relationship comes to a close. At the same time, this closure episode that we're seeing through the coffin, which is at the center of this portrait, it is a successful completion. So this is really closing the loop on something, on someone, on a collaboration, on a certain relationship. And I do think that it closes off well. At the same time, it is possible that you leave a relationship. We also have this set of knights. We have the ring, coffin, and heart. And there is the man that also knights to the clouds and the heart. So there's a lot of action around relationships in the central portrait here. But definitely overall, we are seeing a lot of success, a lot of achievement. And also, I think, closure and letting go. The corner cards are also really nice. The corner cards focus more on money. We have the fish and the ship. The tree and the fish as the first set of corner cards suggests more income. So you could come out with more money from this, possibly more prosperity in intangible ways. And the tree is really a solid card. It's really nice to see it as your first card. It grows deep roots, it grows out into the sky. It is, that connection between earth and sky, that very powerful tree. And also it's the card of growth, maturity, depth. And with the fish here, we are looking at more income. It can mean through a number of possibilities for you, depending on what exactly you do. Maybe it's through a promotion, and I'm thinking these first 3 cards could help, or maybe it's through investments. It depends what you do. And the second set of cards at the corners is also supportive of money, mainly because of the ship. The ship is not specifically about money like the fish, but it's very good for business. So it's about your ship coming in, it's about the rewards coming through, seeing the return on your investment, the return on your effort, the fruits of your labor. And the moon is a gentle card. It's a positive card. It's also a card of appreciation and recognition. So I really think that you are reaping the rewards of your effort. I think that you could also achieve a certain degree of popularity. So we have the moon, the ship, and we have the star. So I think that there could be that sense of more knowledge about you. Maybe it comes as a result of more outreach through the ship, and also through your growth. So that too is a possibility for you. But your corner cards are very supportive, especially for money, business, practical matters. And of course we have the beautiful star in the center here, which is all around wish fulfillment. So definitely you're in to achieve what you set out to achieve through this venture and more. So with this said, with this context, let's go into the rows and columns. In the top row, I suspected the job because the fox is a card of work. And the rest of the cards are more or less practical in this sense, mainly the ship, but also the tree in conjunction with the fish as a corner. And I think with the heart and cross and ship, you could be pursuing some meaningful ventures, some interesting projects, and also possibly making decisions about where you go next in terms of your work, your growth, and these involvements that you're in. The fox is a bit tricky when it comes to relationships, and it is part of this column where we have the man. It is part of this diagonal where we have the ring, and it is right next to the heart. So the fox may very much affect the relationship aspect of your reading. And when it comes to relationships, the fox is tricky. It can represent someone deceptive and someone who is exactly half-hearted with the heart. So in this context, you have maybe been pondering the decision for a while, and I think you move on. And we see this through other lines as well. We have the ship on the right side of your 3x5, and notice that it is quite opposite to the tree and to the anchor. These are rooted cards and these are movement cards. So it's like you decide to pick up and move and you let go. I have to say though that this is not necessarily an easy decision for you. We have the cross, which is the card of decisions, sometimes sacrifices, compromises, and doing things with a bit of a heavy heart, especially since it's next to the heart and fox, but also because it's on top of the clouds and ring. Now the clouds is a card that is very much about thinking, thoughts, psychology, but it also has a heavier aspect, like it tends to be associated with nebulous affairs, difficulties, stress, and confusion. And so when we see the cross, T crossing this column with the ring and next to the fox, notice also that it knights to the coffin and the ring. And like we said, all of these connections can be drawn between these relationship cards. It's very likely that you end a relationship. and you move on from it. And I think you've taken a lot of time thinking about this. But when we look at these three central cards here, which are at the inside of the outer frame, we do have a confirmation that closing this off, releasing it, is the right thing to do. And we have the clover on the other side of the clouds. So with maybe a bit of a heavy heart, you decide to move on from this. And I think it liberates you because of the beautiful clover here. And of course, the star in the middle. So this is how the fox can affect your line in different ways. I have to say that maybe straight up travel is also possible. We have the ship and anchor. We have them on opposite sides of the portrait. And so again, there is this energy of picking up and leaving, closing something off and going somewhere. Now, I'm not seeing the element of new beginnings through the child here, but I think when you look at the flow of the cards, it's pretty obvious that in the wake of an ending and a release, there is freedom and setting sail towards what looks like a really prosperous venture here. So some lovely cards, I think, but some big decisions as well. Now, in the second drawer, we see the ending element coming through very clearly. The anchor and coffin is definitely about bringing something to a close, really bringing something to completion, conclusion. And the thing about the star is that this can refer to a successful conclusion, to a successful completion, and therefore achievement. By itself, the star in the center points to this, and specifically in answering our question. But also on the other side of the coffin, it looks really good. Let it go, move on, you've done well. You can move on. The clouds, like we said, a bit of a confusion card, but the clover next to it points to a very specific indication that suggests that you do not have good reason to be negative about this. So really lighten up your thoughts. It's more good happening than maybe you appreciate at this point. So let go of any negative thinking. Have faith in yourself and your path, and have faith in the need to bring this to an ending. So we see the turning point here. Now in the bottom row, we have a good combination or a good set of combinations for a relationship. We have both the man and the ring, and the fish and moon are also positive cards. The moon with the man can be someone who is kind and appreciative, and also there could be some chemistry and attraction. And I have to say that the ring and fish can also operate in this way, because when it comes to relationships, the fish is very much about physical attraction. So it can mean that this relationship has a strong physical aspect. Maybe because of this column here, it can mean that the relationship is almost only that. And maybe that's not something that you want. I don't know. Maybe some of you do, some of you don't. But what's also interesting about the line is the mountain. When it comes to relationships, the mountain is a barrier. It brings a sense of distance and coldness. So it can contribute to this ending that we're seeing here, but it can also point to the idea of a long distance relationship, or that you overcome hurdles and move into the relationship. So let's hold off on this relationship dynamic in your cards until we've pieced all the rows and columns and maybe even the diagonals to make sense of this. But as it stands, these cards are supportive. If we don't look at what's happening here or here, then they are supportive. I also want to add that the fish being really good with money and your corner cards being supportive of practical affairs, it's possible that the moon and man into the ring and fish brings you a work offer. And there is the possibility of these cards highlighting your work. In this sense, I think it works out really well. And the mountain can suggest working online, or perhaps the office is abroad, or perhaps it involves maybe a move. Because we have these and the ship, it's possible for some of you too. So again, a beautiful line that is supportive of this relationship. I think the relationship is fruitful. If the mountain is an obstacle, I think it's possible to overcome it. Let's read the columns. The tree, anchor, and moon is very much about having confidence in yourself and also trusting your intuition. Both the moon and the tree have a spiritual aspect, especially the moon. And with the anchor, you don't want to doubt yourself. Notice that this mirrors what we saw through the clouds and clover. So we're getting another indication that you don't need to wobble. You don't need to have negative thoughts. Okay, trust yourself. You are on the right track. The fox, coffin, and man, that is clearly an ending in a relationship. I think the fox here can suggest a disappointment. And like we said a few times, these cards, they all knight together. There are some issues in this relationship. In the job sense, it can mean the end of a job. So this can be the person that you say goodbye to in order to take on the new venture. The heart, star, and mountain is lovely. I really think that the mountain can suggest the idea of the mountaintop with a beautiful card like the star and the heart. So there is a strong sense of fulfillment. And it is interesting how it crosses the ending row. So again, I feel that ending something is going to be important for you to let go, to release yourself, and to feel healed and also free to pursue your ambitions, which I really think you do through this venture or through this project that you're pursuing. So this is a general all-around wish fulfillment combination. It does bode well for relationships as well. Again, the man, knights to the heart, knights to the ring, and we have the star in between. So also really good for relationships. We looked at the cross, clouds, and ring. This is a decision you were making about it, or perhaps about another involvement if this is about the job, for example. And finally, the ship, clover, fish is great for money and all-around success. This is really a lucky combination. I suggest you express gratitude and be grateful for all of this abundance that is coming into your life. So these are some really beautiful cards, and when it comes to relationships is when it's a bit tricky. There could be some kind of contradictive dynamics, but there is also a strong positive message around your practical affairs on the job and positive changes in the wake of successful endings. So let's focus a little bit on this relationship element, and it's really these cards, right? So this is the central portrait that is around the star. We have the fox, star, and ring. This is a great relationship for the job. And with the man, star, and cross, this is a relationship that is meant to be. Also notice that we've got the anchor and man and the cross and clover. So very supportive for a relationship. And the anchor and fox is great, and the ring and clover is great. So these are very positive cards. The coffin, star, and clouds, like we said, as the central cards are really encouraging you to end something. And the coffin and ring and the coffin and cross also points to an ending. The fox and clouds, along with the clouds and man, it's not necessarily challenging in light of all of the positive indications. It might mean that this man is thinking about you. Perhaps there are mutual thoughts of anxiety about, with regards to how you feel about the other person, how they feel about you. The mutual element here is maybe something that's weighing on you. Definitely there is something that comes to an end and a relationship that I think takes hold and you move on from. So different scenarios are possible for you. It can mean that there is a difficult chapter that you close off with the same person. It can mean that you leave one person for another. And it can mean that there's a separate ending or an ending that happens in a different area of your life that affects your relationship in these ways. Overall, I think the outcome is very positive. I think the relationship holds, and certainly this is a venture through which you are going to achieve your goal or your goals, and also big aspirations are possible, thanks to the beautiful star in the middle here. So overall, for the Titania's Fortune Cards group, I would say be willing to bring something to a close. Let me know what exactly that is for you. I would say be willing to forgive and to look again at the relationship. I think you find that it takes hold. And also pursue your goals, because you are definitely going to achieve them. This is beautiful success. Also focus on material success. So, we're seeing this success across all the levels. There's a lot of intuitive cards. There's the spiritual element at play through the star, tree, moon, cross. And also there's the practical side of things, the anchor, fish, and ship, all really bringing things together. And, that does go back to what we said a little bit about the tree, the idea of the deep roots into the earth and how it grows out into the sky. It's like really connecting all the levels, right? And with the star and cross in your cards, I feel this could be a time when you do this, when you have like a sense of things falling into place, coming together into this wholesome beauty that is you, your life, and this venture. So you're definitely in for success. You're definitely in for achieving what you set out to achieve. I think you have to be willing to let go of some things that have completed and that are now that can now be put behind you. And also avoid negative thinking and doubt and hesitation. There's no need for that. You're good to go. Just, KMF, keep moving forward. So let me know how you like these ideas. I'm really looking forward to your thoughts and your comments. Let me know a little bit what these issues were for you. And if you're willing, maybe you can share what venture you were focusing on for this reading. And until we meet again, as always, thank you so much for watching and take very good care of yourself. Okay, this is for the Maybe Lenormand group. This is a smaller deck. It's very pretty though. I hope you enjoy it. And as you know, my deck is always shuffled between readings. Just shuffling it a bit more here. And we're going to deal out your 3x5 to see what comes out of this venture for you and if it will be successful. So let's go right ahead and deal out this extended portrait. Okay, maybe Lenormand group, this is a really interesting set of cards. I have to say that because of the whip right in the middle of your 3x5, I'm not so sure how much you achieve your goal through this venture just yet. But what really stands out to me and what really started to come out as I was dealing the cards is this idea of knowledge and information. We have the rider, stork, and book. We have the book, key, and letter. And these cards are so close to each other, and they're also around the fish, which is about money, yes, but it's also about assets, and so something valuable, if you know what I mean. So it's clear to me that you will gather the information through this venture. And also notice that we have the bird at this corner card. So I think what comes through in the next phase is not so much the accomplishment, but it is the information. That's one. Two is the ring around these the ending cards here. Whip and ring, whip and scythe, whip and coffin, and the sun. Now the sun is an all-around beautiful card of success and achievement. But these cards around the ring is an indication of separation. Now, does that mean completion? It certainly might, especially in this column. But in these cards, we are definitely seeing a severance. If that's part of your goal, then I have to say, yes, you will definitely achieve it. And there is also a chance that you complete something or you bring something to a close through this column. But the whip remains your central card, and the whip is a challenging card, and it might compromise your ability to achieve your goal. But again, you seem to bring some things to a head and also gather some very important information. Now, at the corner cards, we have the rider and woman. So she could be a visitor, you could be visiting her. Perhaps this involves communicating with her in some form or other, or possibly meeting with her. In relationships, it can be a date, it can be an outright relationship. The bird and book is definitely a combination of news and information, and it is about asking questions, seeking answer, researching, digging things out. So it's very important that you take initiative and the rider is your card, and it is the card of initiative, that you take initiative to find out what you need to find out. You need some information, you need some knowledge, and you need to do what it takes to get it. So make the calls, reach out to this person, seek answers, research, do whatever it takes so that knowledge and information comes to light. Now let's get into the rows and columns. This is actually a really interesting spread. In the top row, we have the rider, fox, and then the clouds, coffin, and bird. Now this is interesting. So the bird comes after the coffin, whereas the coffin is an ending card. Both rider and bird are communication cards, also cornering at this level. And in the middle, we have the more silent aspect. So this is where the contrast is coming through. So the fox is a card of deception. It can be someone half-hearted. It can be someone who's tricky, a bit of a trickster kind of character. And with the coffin and clouds, it is a challenging line. So it's possible that for a while you fall out of communication here. It can also suggest that you're better off holding off on communications until you understand what you need to figure out exactly. And also, it is definitely a set of cards that warns you against the wrong people. It can also mean that you stay away from certain people and that you cut off a certain level of communication with some folks. I'm interested by the rider pointing in that direction, by the way, and it's like the rider leaves behind what I think is misunderstandings and a situation that can't really be resolved. It's like you can't be on the same page with this person. So this might be an indication of being choosy about whom you ask and whom you don't ask. And also in the process, there are some relationships that I think will end. And what happens here is that you sort of fall out the communication loop. You sort of, let it go. We do have the endings very clearly in the second row here. So a bit of a complication. I think here there could be some confusion. You're not sure maybe who to ask. You're not sure whether to approach or not. You're not sure whether to pursue this or not. So if you need time, take time, and also be clear about what you're going to talk about, what you're going to communicate about before you do. And if this means being choosy, then you're very much encouraged to pick and choose who you ask, who you don't ask. And on top of all this, if there is a relationship that ends and that you move away from, that also needs to happen at this point. And this is the indication that is very strongly indicated by the second row, especially in this part. The whip, ring, and scythe, this is a clear argument and separation. The whip and scythe, when they figure together, they're very challenging. They're probably the most challenging combination. And then we see it next to the ring. And on top of that, we have the coffin and the earlier cards here. So we have lots of support for suggesting that a relationship comes to an end. Now, the stork and fish is about positive changes happening with money by themselves. But then when we have the whip, ring, and scythe, I really have to wonder if this is not related to your job. We have the fox here. It is a job card. The fish is a money card. And maybe the communication that's happening here is about an offer, a job offer. So if you're after a job change, then you definitely achieve this, or you're very likely to go through the transition at this stage. So you get an offer, and this leads you to remove yourself from the current involvement. So resign from a job, end the current project, or end your current business collab. It depends what you do, what you work at, but these are all possibilities. And it's really this diagonal into this one that clearly suggests to me that you get an offer. It can also come through here. In the clouds at the top, we see that you're thinking about it, and with the ring and woman, she could be someone who makes this job offer, or she could be the person who's involved with this. So here you're thinking, but we see in both of these main diagonals that an offer of work is very much possible, which leads you to release yourself from the current involvement. That could be one way to look at the cards. They're not as bright when it comes to personal relationships because the fox is a bit deceptive and these are challenging. And of course, the whip, ring, and scythe are also challenging, and there's a communication issue at the top. So when it comes to relationship, it's really clear that it's an ending in the relationship. But when it comes to work, it's an ending in your current work in favor of a new job. Well, let's continue building these rows. The bottom row is your brightest row. We have the sun and key. They're both very, very bright cards pointing to wish fulfillment and success, solutions. It's also gaining access. We have the book and letter. When they figure together, it can refer to some very important news that comes pretty much soon. And so again, I'm seeing that this is landing an opportunity, getting the green light, getting that piece of information. It's like the, that stimulus, that motivation that helps you move forward. So this is a beautiful row for wish fulfillment. And the woman can be the person who either helps you with that or communicates with you about that, or perhaps you share the good news with her and she's someone supportive like that in your life. But the bottom row very clearly points to this importance that we have to give to the idea of news and communication for you in this venture that you're after. Let's keep building these ideas. Rider, stork, and book. This is clearly a revelation. News is delivered, information is received. It can also point to someone who shows up unexpected. But the key here is through the book and stork, and there's like this opening, revelation, news comes through, insight, knowledge. So this is very important for you in this project, in this venture. The fox, fish, and key is great for work. This is a job that brings you good money. It can be a better job. It can be a new job opportunity or an opportunity within your job. If you're in business for yourself, it's great for customers, collaborators, maybe even employees. Maybe you're hiring, growing, things like that. The key is a success card, and with the fish and fox, it really puts you in a position of power and an enhanced position when it comes to your money and your success, and also your sense of independence. So I think that's a nice theme also to focus on for you, that sense of independence. And the rider, it's as your first card, it's a card of movement, initiative, very much the type of person who takes things in stride, really just going after the goal. So I feel you have a lot of momentum at this time through this venture. And also, the whip is a very energetic card. Yes, it's challenging, but it's typically associated with sports and, all of this activity because it's so energetic. So a lot of good things are also possible for you. So the clouds, whip, and letter, central column. This is bad news. And I'm thinking in terms of how it crosses this central row. It is the announcement of the ending. So the clouds, whip, and letter, whip, ring, scythe, it's pretty clear. This is the announcement that we're leaving, or this is ending, or this is not okay. And the coffin, ring, and sun is the actual leaving. So nice logical continuation here. And then the bird, scythe, and woman is some breaking news kind of indication. So more news, knowledge, information, themes coming through. And again, this woman might come with the surprise, or perhaps you share the news with her. Again, I think she's happy for you. And so there's a lot of a communication energy all throughout. So there's a strong communication energy all throughout your cards. This is very much focused on receiving the news, acting on the news, sharing the news, making announcements. In the process, some people hear it from you, some people don't. In the process, some relationships fall out, some involvements end, and you are ready to break free out of a certain involvement. We do have a very beautiful card like the sun, and actually the fish is also lovely. The thing is that the fish can take on negative influences like from the clouds and whip. The sun doesn't. It's always positive. So with this column, like we said, there is a strong possibility of achievement as well. But the focus for you is not so much the achievement. It's like the breaking out and the news announcement and the challenge that comes with breaking out. It can cause some conflicts, some issues arise like we saw with your corner cards, the whip and bird, the whip and book. It's like this news, bad news. I think for the folks who hear it from you, like when you leave, when you decide to leave, it comes across to them as a bit heavy-handed and strong. But the focus for you is to break out and to move on and to release yourself from involvements in favor of better ones that are coming your way. So tell me, does this align with what you're trying to achieve? Is that what your goal is in the coming phase? If it is, then yes, the cards definitely answer you positively. You will successfully break out. You will get the opportunity to break out, and you will break out. If it's not, then the cards can present some challenges and instead advise you to focus on gathering the information and also assessing your involvements generally or more specifically. Assess your relationships. Some things need to end. Some things are in the way. Some people are not supportive. This needs to be shaken out. We can also look at the central cards. We have the fish, whip, and ring. So really it brings into focus this separation. With the fish, it can point to expenses, but I'm not really inclined to look at it this way because I feel the broader, bigger context here has the best way to help us interpret the fish within the central three cards. And the diagonals, like we touched on a little bit, are also supportive. We have the rider, fish, and letter, and into the ring and bird. This is definitely a contract. And with the bird, there are also negotiations. With the fish and letter, also an offer. So I'm having a hard time not seeing the cards as bringing some kind of offer or proposal. It is very strongly indicated in the cards. The book, fish, clouds, ring, and women also points to that. The clouds can, like the whip, suggest expenses. Again, I'm not so sure this is what's relevant here. Instead, it's more about thinking about this offer. And I want to suggest that if you need to negotiate, if you need to clarify, if some things are, the terms are not exactly what you want, then I think it's a good time to be honest about it. I think with the rider and whip and the bird, there's a lot of vocal cards here and not so much silence. The clouds and coffin might be more on the silent side, but I think they're indicating the ending. But I think they're indicating the ending more than anything else, and just a caution around certain characters. Otherwise, when it comes to your offer, this information that is going to be really key for you to unlock the next phase, you need to negotiate the terms. You need to understand what you're getting into. So don't keep it in your head. Clarify matters with this person. Ask questions. Seek answers. All of this is in your cards and well supported. We can also look at the stork key into the whip, coffin, and scythe. So we looked at these. And I really like the stork and key here, confirming that you are right to end this phase. The whip, coffin, and scythe is very much an indication of an ending, and the key and stork is success and also initiative. So go ahead and call it a day. Move on to this new opportunity. The Stork Fox whip into the Sun and Scythe is again this breakthrough and liberation from probably a current job or possibly a relationship that isn't fitting for you anymore. So the idea of release and relief is hard to miss in these cards. It is very much about shaking up the status quo. So if your venture doesn't involve shaking up the status quo, I feel that it might be more or less forced on you, if I can say that. But if you're after this, if you're on top of this, if you take initiative to make changes, I think you're going to start, and then there's going to be like the floodgates open. You're going to have all of this momentum, and you're going to, you're just going to want to bring this to a head, bring this to completion, seize the opportunity, take advantage of the momentum, and really move forward to make possibly deep, radical changes in your life or whatever aspects of your life this venture affects. The cards are good for money and work. They're more challenging for personal relationships, but they're very supportive of news and communication. I can't stress this more. The cards are everywhere. I think we have every single communication card in your spread. Just sense yes, the book, letter, bird. Are there other communication cards apart from people cards? We have the woman. I think this really covers every single communication card. Maybe the garden would have added this idea of networking, but really we have the ring instead, which brings closer one-on-one kind of relationships, whereas the garden is broader, more like community oriented. So yes, the focus is very much on communication and on taking initiative. So don't hold back, okay? Move forward, go for it. And whatever needs to end because you need to seize this opportunity. So let me know how you like these ideas. Leave me your thoughts and comments. Let me know what the whip might do for you in your context. I would really like to know. And perhaps if you are willing to maybe share what venture you focused on for this pick-a-card reading. So thank you so much for tuning in as always. I'm so looking forward to our next reading together. And until then, take very good care of yourself.